go. Check, check, check. Okay, let me see your hands like this. Get your hands up. Get your hands up. Now get your hands up. Get them hands up. Now get your hands up. Get your hands up. Get your hands up, get your hands up. I may not be who I wanna be, I'm not who I used to be. They tell me be yourself, but that could possibly ruin me. I'm here, constantly dodging all these obstacles you threw. My philosophy proves to be what's got me through. See, every time I write a rhyme, instead of trying to nice these lines, I'm trying to find a dime and interrupt the shines on the Maya mark, the childish stuff. Underground, it's just never enough time. I'm stuck dying just to die. Thus the cycle, it continues. The venues, the windows where I begin to stare off into the distance, scared. Witness my redemption. The cross the face. The fear is not as heavy if we share. And if you grip it here, have a piece of my soul. If you willing to hold it close, let it go and it'll finish you. Every time you hear something I wrote, you get a clue as to how to get out of the hole now. Now from the front to the back, let me hear where you at. Ooh, ooh. From the top to the bottom, throw them up if you got them. Ooh, ooh. From the front to the back, let me hear where you at. Ooh, ooh. From the top to the bottom, throw them up if you got them. Ooh, ooh. Now say, hey. Say, oh. Now say, hey, hey. Say, oh, oh. Say, hey, hey, oh, oh. Da, 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 do, do. Say da 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 da. Say shibby dibby dabby dibby diggy diggy da. Say ew, but shiggy dibby do, but ship bip bop ba dooby dooby day dibby day dibby day dibby day dibby dibby diggy dibby dibby do. Shibby dibby doo. Give it up for your boy right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now from the front to the back, let me hear where you at. Ooh, ooh. And from the top to the bottom, throw them up if you got them. Ooh, ooh. From the front to the back, let me hear where you at. Ooh, ooh. And from the top to the bottom, throw them up if you got them. Ooh, ooh. Make some noise, ladies and gentlemen, for yourself. Thank you very much, Anthony. Make some noise for Jason right here, getting it done, man. I knew you had it in you, Jason. I was looking like, who could handle this? And I knew that guy could do it, man. He looked like he had the steez. All right, everybody doing all right? All right. Some of you guys look excited. Some of you guys look confused. Some of you look tired. Some of you look smelly, but it is good to be here, okay? Clap your hands one time if you're tired. Clap your hand one time if you are confused. Clap your one time if you're excited. Clap one time if you're sitting next to someone who is smelly. All right. Okay, so check it out, check it out. Look up here, look up here, look here. Clap one time if you should not be taking a picture right now. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. Feel free to take a picture. My name is Bob. Hi, Bob. It's my birth name. My rap name is Righteous B, but you can call me whatever you want, Bob, or any other name that you feel inspired to say. I just want to start, I want to start by telling you how excited I am to be with you. I've done these conferences for years and years and years, and I was walking around a little bit right before this thing started, and I honestly think that y'all might be the best looking group ever to come on campus. Yeah, there's been a lot of ugly people, and you guys, you've raised the bar, so thank you, all right? So thank you, one, already for being wonderful, for being good looking. I want to start with this disclaimer. Just get it out of the way. I'm married. Sorry, ladies, I know. I've seen some chaperones. I'm not going to point out where over in this section, but like winking at me during the song. And I just want to say, yeah. All right, shh. I just want to say that, Not only am I married, I have 7 children, all right? See out there, children. Yeah. My wife's probably having one right now, all right? We got a lot of kids, all right? But here's the deal. Here's the deal. I want to tell you 2 stories tonight, all right? That's it, all right? I know sometimes it's a long day on Friday. You get here, you ate some weird meal. You're sitting next to someone who smells bad. Someone threw a beach ball off your dome, you know, and you're just like, come on, the last thing I want to hear is this guy talk. So I'm just going to tell you 2 stories, so buckle up, all right? It's gonna be quick, all right? Everyone can do that? All right. First story, I said I got 7 kids. I got 5 boys, 2 girls, all right? That means there's a lot of punching in my house. There's a lot of craziness going on, and all my kids are a little crazy, all right? Because one thing you will notice when you have children, if this hasn't happened to you yet, is that, like, you will have this day where you're, like, looking at your kids and you're like, man, what happened? Like, why are my kids so weird looking and goofy, you know? Like, and then you realize you're like, man, kids are just like a little mirror of you, you know? So if you're like, kids are weird and goofy looking, it's because you're weird and goofy looking, you know? Like, so of all my weird and goofy looking kids, there's one that is the weirdest, and he has given me the most fodder for these conferences over the years. His name is Toby, and Toby, like for an example, all of us will be over here like in the yard kicking a soccer ball or something, and Toby will be like next to a tree going like, you know, like for no reason. He's just a weirdo, all right? And so one day, because I'm a good dad, I said, like, let's go out to eat tonight, you know? It's just always like a fun adventure, especially when you got a lot of kids. Man, you don't go out to eat a lot. It costs $1 million just to go anywhere. And so, like, we were going out to eat, and we went to this little Italian restaurant not far from here because I live in Steubenville. And so we were driving downtown to this little place, and we got down there, and we got a table. And I always ask them, and they always say no, but I was like, can my kids sit at that table? Me and my wife could sit here and like be on a date, you know, and they say no, yeah, it's illegal. And but then they put us at like a long table. We put the kids at this end. Me and my wife are down here. And like, you know, like within a matter of minutes, you know, my kids are like melting the crayons over the candle, you know, and, you know, just causing mischief. And me and my wife are lovingly, you know, looking at each other and talking, trying to ignore the burnt wax smell and all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, then this is kind of normal for us, you know, par for the course when meals happen or whatever. And at some point in the meal, because I'm a good parent, you know, I looked down and did a little head count, you know. I was like, you know, whatever the number was supposed to be a few years ago, it was 1 short, all right? And I turned to my wife, Kate, and I was like, Kate, before I even like had to look who it was missing, I knew it was Toby, right? Because I told you the tree, remember? It's weird. And so I said, Kate, Toby's AWOL. I don't know where he's at, you know. And she was like, Toby, you know. And this is like a normal occurrence. I'm not sure why she panics every time, but she panicked. And I said, no, I'll get him. And the reason why is because like there's only a couple like rules I lay out for my kids. Like don't ever break these rules, you know. Like for instance, places not to go. You know, I don't know where you live, where you're from, you know, but where I live, you know, over like in the hood part of Steubenville, you know, like behind our normal streets, we got alleys. You know, raise your hand if you got an alley behind your street. An alley? All right. You guys are keeping it real, all right? And only the strong survive. There's only a few of you. But alleys, if you don't know what an alley is, if you've never experienced the glory of an alley, it's not good enough to have a street name. You put your trash back there. You don't look at it, you know. There's like broken glass and needles and, you know, like drunken raccoons walking around selling watches, you know. Like, it's that kind of vibe. And I always tell my kids, like, don't go back to the alley. You know, you're going to get a disease or something. And, but sure enough, I come home from, you know, work and they're like back in the alley, like kicking glass to each other or something. And the other place I tell them not to go is when you go to a restaurant, like under the table. It's nasty, right, Jason? I mean, it's like under there is like everything disgusting you can imagine, you know, like old gum, nuggets with hair on them and stuff, just gross stuff under the table. But sure enough, I always find my kids down there like chewing on an old piece of gum or something. And so I looked under the table because I knew he'd be under there. And not only is Toby underneath the tablecloth, under the table. But he has managed in like the 12 minutes we've been at this little restaurant to gather like everyone's, like those square things that hold the sugar and stuff, and all of the sugar and NutraSweet and stuff that was in it. And there's just this pile of it, and they're like 90% of them are opened, and there's it's all on his like being, and he's like trying to eat them as fast as he can. He's like licking his hand and stuff. And I was like, Toby, I was like so mad. And I tried to do that thing, like your parents have probably done this to you, where they're like, you're out in public, so you can't yell, but you start doing that thing where you talk through your teeth, and you're like, Toby, get over here, it's inaudible, but I pull him out from under that table. I sit him on the chair. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. And then he looked up at me, and he did this thing that all my kids do. Like, I don't know if they learned it, taught it. It's inherent. But they, like, make the saddest face, like, where they, like, start to cry, but then they're like, they catch themselves, and their little bottom lip is shaking. And it's so sad that my son's like 4, all right, this time, just so you don't think he's like 18 or something. Like his little lip is shaking, and it's so sad. It makes you feel bad about yourself. I'm like, come here. I know, man. I'm like, I know I haven't always been there for you. Like I know sugar's great, but like you can't do that, dude, at a restaurant. I'm like, and he's like. So we box stuff up because I know he's going to melt down in another 10 minutes. And so we get in the car, we're driving home. This is me driving. And as we're going home, it's only like a mile from my house. And we're driving up the hill, and I looked in the rearview mirror. And to my surprise, all right, Toby, who is sitting in the bucket seat behind mi esposa, Spanish for my wife, just to show you how smart I am. All of a sudden, I see him pull out from that pocket in the jacket, like a fist full of like NutraSweet, And I was like, you have got to be kidding me, dude. I was so mad. We were like in this it was basically an alley up this hill. And I put the van in park, like the NutraSweet fell out of his hand, And in my house, like when Dad puts the car in park, like you have passed the point of no return. It is game over. Like, I am not starting that car back up until someone gets spanked. And so all my kids, the cars in park, they're all like buttoning their top button and like, sitting, Toby's like cross-eyed and, and I turn around and I'm like, Toby! And he looks at me, and the rest of the kids were like, oh. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you little fugitive, I couldn't think of what to call him. I was mad, and this wave of shame came over me. I'm like, man, I talk to people about Jesus. I go around, talk to people about Jesus. I feel pretty good about myself talking to people about Jesus. And my own kid is going to be like locked up by the time he's 6. And I start feeling like bad about myself again. And so I said to him, he started doing that lip thing, and I was like, no, bro. I was like, fool me once, no. That's done, bro. Those days are over. And then I said to him, this like came to me, it was inspiration, divine inspiration. I said to him, Toby, like, what do you love more, bro? You got a question to answer. What do you love more? Sugar or God? And he goes like this. Looks like he's gonna vomit. Like he's really intense on this question. He's like, sugar number 1. Candy number 2. I didn't even put that in the multiple choice. Sugar number 1. Candy number, and all candy is sugar. Like you didn't even have to make another category, but he goes, sugar number 1. Candy number 2. God number 3. And I was like, God number 3. I was like, Toby, dude, you're going to hell. You're talking about God number 3. And here's why I start this little lesson off with that story, all right, out of one of 2. Because both of the stories I am going to tell you in the next few minutes, that being the first, are all of our stories. Like, it's easy to laugh at Toby and be like, what an idiot. The correct answer was B, God. Like, we know how to answer the multiple choice. We feel like that's how we get through life and win, the number 2 pencil over the correct answer.
But the problem is that that's not how that question gets answered. That question gets answered by the way we live our life, by the things that consume us, the choice that we make. And see, the biggest problem is, it would have been easy if I said, hey, Toby, what's more important, God or Satan? Like, it wasn't like he looked down and like all of a sudden his eyes glowed and he was like, Satan, He just was being honest. He was just a kid, He was just saying, God was in his top 3. He wasn't saying like he was pure evil. He just said like sugar number 1, like God's still down there. And I think for most of us, like that's the story of our life. I don't think if you're honest with yourself, I don't think the problem is necessarily, that you are torn between God and like selling cocaine every day. Like that's like the two choices. Like most of the time it's just God and something else we like a lot. Maybe our girlfriend, our boyfriend, our shoes, our phone, getting into a good college, something. But it's just so easy to pick something else as being the thing. So I ask you to start this whole weekend with just being honest for a second. Like what's most important to you? What's the thing that you think about the most? What's the thing that ties up your emotions, your thoughts, your daydreams, your money, your time? Like what is that thing? Because that thing is our number one. Whether we say with the multiple choice test, it's God, like the real answer is the thing that we, now why isn't that God just made us perfect? Like, we could have came out of our mother's womb, like little Jesus baby zombies, and just we knew how to pray the rosary, and we came out, we were just already blessing ourselves, out of the womb, but like that would be weird, all right? And here's why it would be weird, like for example, all right, you two, what are your names? Dahlia? That's a cool name. Okay, Dahlia and Sean, all right? So imagine, this is hypothetical, all right? Sean, imagine at the end of this talk, Dahlia, am I saying it right? No, I wasn't. Okay, let's move on to you. You got an easier name? What is it? What is it? Tiffany. All right, easier. All right, so Sean, imagine Tiffany. All right, Dahlia passed you over. Tiffany comes up to me and says, hey, Bob, can I talk to you for a second? I'm in love with Sean. All right. Now, it's just hypothetical. All right, so don't get excited, Sean. I see that grin on your face. All right. Look. So she says, I'm in love with Sean, and I'm like, well, thanks for telling me, Tiffany. That's cool, like that we're like that, we're tight. And I'm like, so are you going to tell him? And she's like, watch this. And then she walks up to Sean, and she grabs him by his hair, drags him over to the wall, like puts his head against the wall and was like, Sean, you are going to love me, Now, Sean, I'm guessing, unless you're weird, that you wouldn't really like that, right? All right. There was a little hesitation I saw, Sean, but look. Look. The reason that is weird, not that I would have to explain this to you, but the reason that is weird is because it's not real love. Real love isn't being forced to do something. And because our God loves us in a real way, not just a fake way, not just he wants you to learn all the exact motions and when to do this and when to do that. And like he wants real love from you, so he gives you free will. If God did that to us, made you come on this youth conference and grabbed you by the hair, and this is a lot of our impressions of God, and God says, you're going to love me, whether you like it or not, because I made you, and we're like, okay, like that's not real love. And so what God does in his authenticity is that he says, you pick whatever you want. You want it to be sugar? That's weird, but okay. Go ahead. Because he's waiting with bated breath, hoping that we pick him. But that's the only way we can really love him, is that we can freely choose, all right? And I'm going to bring up 2 volunteers, and I've picked on this youth group enough, all right? So I just need 1 volunteer, all right? So I'm going to pick you, bro. Come on up here, because you raised your hand. Where are those chairs? Brian, where are those chairs at? Can I have that? Oh, thanks so much. All right. 2, yeah, thanks so much. All right. Thanks, sir. All right, so what's your name? AJ? All right. So, AJ, sit down with your chair, like, not that far back, like right here, all right? It's going to be a little intimate, all right? So I want you to imagine, if you will, AJ is God, okay? And it's good, man, because you're like a majestic-looking dude, man. Big muscles, cool beard, all right. But look, AJ's God. This is how you were created, okay? Like, the only way our lives will ever make sense is if we are in relationship with God. Not if we're in relationship with sugar or another person. I mean, those things are fine, you know, but like the only way that we'll ever be completely satisfied is the way that God made us. Because inside of our hearts, we have this little throne. We get to put whatever we want there. And this is the way we were made. Okay, God made us so that we were in relationship with him. But I want to show you the problem, because this is all of our problems, and it's so easy. Like I said, the problem is not normally, oh, this is the way I'm made, I worship Satan now. You know, like it's not like that. The problem is that this is what happens. We're like, oh, God, this makes sense. I love you, God. And then all of a sudden, one day, we just kind of take a peek like this to the side, and we're like, whoa. At everything else there is to look at, you know, besides you, God. We just kind of turn our chair like this. We don't turn our backs on God. We just kind of our chair a little bit, and we're like, this is cool, God, because, like, I still love you, man, but look at the world, man. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of experiences. There's a lot of things that make me happy out there that I just didn't quite notice, and we get a little bit more into this stuff, and these are the things we start thinking about and doing and, you know, all this kind of stuff, and by a little bit, we're like this. And now I'm open to all of this shiny stuff, whatever it is for you, whatever that thing that is like sugar that hops up to number one in our life so easily. And God's still in the peripheral. We turn our backs on God. We're like, God, I still see you, man. You know, thanks for keeping your eyes on me. You know, but look at this, man. You know, this is cool. You know, and somehow, we might not even know how, but somehow slowly what happens is this. Oh, my gosh, look at all this stuff. And then one day, we're like, where is God? God left me. And we're the one, God's been looking at us the whole time, but somehow we slowly turn our backs on him. And maybe we didn't even mean to. It's just we're just so prone to distraction that somehow this is how our hearts end up. It's unnatural. It's not the way that God made it. Thank you, AJ. It's a round of applause for AJ. You can leave that chair. You can leave the chair. Second story I want to tell you, it's much more simple than the first. It comes from the Gospel of Luke. Gospel means good news. And any gospel is just stories about Jesus. So this is a story that Jesus told, and it's just a story that we probably all heard. Didn't mean to spit. It is the story of the prodigal son. It's from Luke chapter 15. Raise your hand if you've ever heard the prodigal son story before. All right. So it's kind of long, but it's really good. All right, so I saw you raise your hand. Just give me in like a couple sentences what happens in the prodigal son. And you forget. All right, move around. I saw you raise your hand with the glasses. Were you lying too? The prodigal son. Kid wastes all his money on what? On stuff. Okay, that's a good synopsis, man. I like that. All right, so thank you. Here it is, a little bit more fleshed out, but that's the story of the prodigal son. It's like this guy had two sons, and the guy was rich. So the way that they had it, they had everything. The way that this guy, provided this is that his two sons had everything. And then one day, one of his sons, his younger son, just started kind of, wow, there's a lot out there. There's more than just this little home I live on, this little farm. Like, there's stuff, there's girls, there's music, there's all this stuff. And so he comes to his dad, and he's like, Dad, I know that we're rich, and I know that I'm going to get a bunch of money when you die, so you think, like, instead of waiting for you to die, I could just have it right now? And because he wanted real love, he didn't grab his son and say, get him into, put him in chains. He's going to love me, because that's not real love. And so the father lets this kid take all of his money. That was going to go to him when he was older. And so it says that, you hit the nail on the head, it says that the kid goes off and he spends his money on loose living. I don't know what that means because that's not a phrase we use still, you know. Like, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, loose living, you know, like. But it sounds sketchy, doesn't it? Like, you know, like he was doing sketchy stuff. And so he goes off to some distant, you know, town or whatever, and he starts spending his money on all kinds of stuff. And artists and storytellers, you know, kind of say all kinds of things. Girls, parties, prostitutes, whatever. You know, just you name it, he had money. But the problem, check it out, the problem with money is what happens when you run out of money. The fun stops, right? And so at some point, we don't know how long this has been, maybe it's days, maybe it's weeks, maybe it's years, but at some point the money runs out. All of his friends leave him because they don't care. They were just there for the money. And then he's so desperate, he needs clothes and food so bad that he goes to a farmer, a pig farmer. And he asks, can I take care of the pigs, you know, to make some money? And so the farmer says yes. He starts taking care of these pigs, okay? The smelliest job. Now, does anyone out there own a pig? Anyone own a pig? All right, a couple hands, all right? I also own a pig, all right? So power to you guys who have pigs. I got this pot-belly pig. His name happens to be Anthony, which is also the drummer's name. This weekend we were talking about this over dinner. I got a pig named Anthony. He thought I was trying to make fun of him, but I wasn't. I got this pig named Anthony, and he's an illegal pig, all right? Like, I live in the city. You're not allowed to have chickens or pig, and I got them both, all right? So that's probably why I'm going to jail and to hell, all right? But I just want to, like, air it out with you guys right now. Like, I got an illegal pig at home. And this pig, like, there's a reason why people say stuff like, man, he eats like a pig, you know, because pigs really are piggish, you know. They eat like nasty. Not only do they eat just, you know, they make these crazy sounds with their mouth, you know, they're like, I mean, they like smack their gums and stuff. I mean, I want to say, like, chew your mouth shut, Anthony. You know, but they like, they're slobby, you know, always hungry kind of people, and they will eat anything. Like, you got a moldy piece of corn in the refrigerator, you know, give it to Anthony. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of a meal, we scrape all of our stuff onto a plate, we go give it to Anthony, man, because he don't care. And so this prodigal son, this younger son, is feeding all this stuff to the pigs. And it says he's so hungry that he wants to eat what they're eating. I just want you to know, like, that is so nasty, dude. Like, if you can mix, like, imagine mixing, like, chili and milk and moldy corn and, you know, Fruit Loops and raviolis and all kinds of stuff like that, and maybe, like, a dead mouse just all together and then giving it to something. He was like, I want that. I'm so hungry. I want that. And as I picture, it says he's so desperate, he's longing for it to eat what the pigs are eating. I picture him, like, almost, like, getting down on his hands and knees, like, I can't believe it's come to this, but about to go face first into this pig slop. And then it says, my favorite line in this story. It says, but he came to his senses. He came to his senses. And what did he come to his senses? All of a sudden he snapped. He's like, dude, I had everything I could ever want back home. Like, the way my dad loved me was perfect. And I wanted shiny stuff. I wanted to shine, you know. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to go home, and I'm going to say to my dad, like, just let me be a servant. Just let me be one of your slaves, because even your slaves have food. They have clothes. They have a place to sleep. They have happy lives. I don't deserve to be your son. Just let me be like a slave. And so he says he starts making his way home. And as he's making his way home, you hear a couple of times, like, he's going through and I'm going to say, I'm not worthy. I've sinned against heaven. I've sinned against heaven and earth, and I'm not worthy to be called your son. He's like practicing his lines. Like, if you've ever been in trouble, you know, like, you're late, you know you're going to get in trouble. You start going through the story. Like, you're going to tell your mom, like, the traffic was crazy, and I've sinned against heaven and earth, and I just want you to, you know, like, he's going through the lines on what he's going to say. And it says, this part is so cool. And so it says, why he's still a far way off. Now, what that means, I think, is that somehow he could see his house way down the road, wherever he was at. Maybe they lived on a hill or whatever. But it says, why he was still a far way off. Here he is, raggedy, starving, broken. He's walking home, rehearsing his speech. I'm an idiot, Dad. I'm sorry. All of a sudden, it says, the father starts running towards him. No, he didn't yell out, hey, Dad, I'm sorry. His dad just saw him. And maybe his dad waited for him every night. Maybe his dad smoked a pipe and just hoped that maybe tonight he's going to come back. But somehow his dad saw him from way off, and his dad starts booking it towards him, running. Old guy, dad, he's running. You know how, like, if you have a dad, sometimes dad have that, like, dad strength. You're like, I know my dad looks old and like a dad, but if he wants to, he could still, like, beat me up, and he sees that dad running, maybe he's got a long beard, maybe normally has a cane, but he throws the cane, he's running. Now, I don't know about you and your dad, your relationship with your dad, but if I had taken all my dad's money and spent it on loose living, and then all of a sudden I was coming home, I would not think that my dad was running towards me with, like, love, I wouldn't think my dad was running towards me to, beat my, like, really, like he was gonna drop kick my chin off or something, man, like I would think that was what was happening, but it says his dad gets up close, and he starts saying, Dad, I sinned against heaven, and he's just starting to spit it out. I just want to be your slave. And before he could even finish, it says his dad wraps him up. He embraces his son. He kisses his son. And he says, he takes one look at his smelly, broken, torn up son, and he says to the slaves, the servants, he says, go get clothes, get the best clothes to put on my son. He's back. Get a ring to put on his finger. We are going to have a party tonight. Get my fattest calf and slay it. It sounds awesome, man. Like what that means is that the fattest calf, that's like his prized possession. It'd be like if he had a bottle of champagne that he is saving for his retirement party or something. He's just like, go get it. My son is back. I thought he was dead, but he's alive. Do you see how weird that is? That's the father's response? It would be like if you went and stole your best friend's money, right? Like one time, like someone that like is your close friend, one time you just swiped their money in the middle of the night, and they knew you stole it, and then you came back like a year later, and you were like, hey, I'm sorry, I stole your money. And they were like, hey, it's all right. In fact, take my dog, Take my fattest dog, like. That's what the father is doing. It's like overboard. He doesn't need to. It's like that. I get it. The hug was enough. Like, you don't got to kill the fattest cow. But like his father is just saying, like, overboard, I don't care about anything. I care about you. I want you to know that this is the greatest moment of my life because I thought my son hated me. I thought my son put everything else above me. And here I was at the bottom, but you have come back. Guys, this weekend could be a whole bunch of things. It could be fun. You can meet cute people, maybe get some numbers. You're going to get a weird free t-shirt from your youth group later. I don't know. It can be all kinds of different things, but check it out. My hope for what it could be is that it might be a chance for you to do what that son did. That you might take inventory of your heart and you might be like, what the heck, man? I've had sugar as number one. I've had getting into a good college at number one. I've had my girlfriend at number one. I've had, getting more stuff or whatever, or looking good or not being fat or what, whatever your thing is, like that's been number one for me. And God is saying, it's your choice. But like, if you would push all that stuff off just for one weekend, you will not be disappointed. Sunday afternoon, you think the guy with the tattoos on Friday night was an idiot. You can put all that stuff back on the throne. You could turn your chair back around the other way. But like you have this crazy opportunity tonight. Just for the next 48 hours, it'd be like, okay, I'll give you a chance, God. Like if this is how I'm made to be, if this is the only way I'm going to be satisfied, then I'll give you a chance. The first conference I ever went to, the first real prayer I ever said to God, and like I said, that was my challenge to you tonight. Just be real with God. If you're mad, if you don't think he exists, if you're not sure where you're at or where you stand with God, just tell him that. But the first real thing I said to God, I was like, hey, God, I don't know if I buy it all, but I want you to prove it. That was all I said. It was small. It was stupid. But God answered that prayer in my life, and he still does. He wants to answer that prayer in your life tonight, this weekend, if you're willing to pray that. So let's stand for a second and pray.